Hi, I'm Dr. Dayle Savage, Director of Career Services at Peabody College's Vanderbilt University. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about networking. Networking is that skill that we all have around connecting with others. It is about relationship. So how do we have relationships with people to get answers to questions that we have? The networking base continues from a very strong place and sense of how can I help? How can I help? If a person calls upon you and has some questions for you, I've really never seen anyone say, "No, I'm sorry, I can't help you with that today." What happens typically is if someone reaches out and says, "I would love to spend about 20 minutes with you to ask you about your career, how you got there, the education, the skills, the certifications that you have to get you where you are today, because eventually I'd like to do that." Don't you think they'd say yes? I know I have. And so that's what this session is all about. It is really asking the question, will you help me? Will you help me gain more information about an occupation, a career, a transition that I'm trying to make? I would say over the past 12 years, I have had hundreds of networking conversations with people. It's quite interesting phenomena because as we get into the conversation, people really open up. They tell me all about themselves, and we discover that really the path that they thought they were going to take might take a different path altogether. So when you think about your network, who is in it? Well, let's start at the very beginning, and that's your family. And I'm talking extended family. Family that may live in other states, aunts and uncles, cousins that you haven't talked to in a very long time. Maybe you've never even met. But those people may hold a key to something that's just yours and what you want to do. So from family, well, then we go to the professional network. Many of you have had involvement with different professional associations. Perhaps you had involvement with fraternities and sororities and associations that were around your major in college. Perhaps you are working now in community associations, parent-teacher associations. I don't care what it might be. Anywhere you are in community, you have a network. You have people that you have met, maybe only as an acquaintance, but there's someone that's like, wow, there's something here that I'd like to find out more about what that is that you do. That's very interesting to me. And so the community is also a very good place to look. So perhaps you are working in your community, in your churches, your synagogues, your temples. There are a whole host of places there that will provide you with a vast array of people for you to talk to. And then finally, there's one other location that just comes along perchance. And that is what I call a serendipitous opportunity. It's that opportunity where you're sitting at the ballpark and you're watching your son and daughter playing t-ball. And you hear two other parents sitting talking up there, and they're talking about, one woman is talking about her husband's business, and you know, he just really had to let go his marketing director and he's scrambling to find something. Now, you've been at home with your children for about 5 or 6 years, and you're thinking, wait a minute, marketing is what I used to do before I was, had my kids. So that's something I'd like to do, but I'd really like to do it only part-time. So you turn to this individual and you say, "I'm sorry, I don't mean to be eavesdropping, but I just overheard your conversation, and marketing is something that I used to do before I had my children, and I'd love to talk to your husband about the opportunity he has." Now that is seizing the day, carpe diem, as it were. So that is a serendipitous opportunity. It can happen at the ballpark, it can happen at the theater, it can happen in line at the grocery store. You have to be listening for those opportunities. So you create opportunities to go out and network with other people. Perhaps you're at a large wedding, a college roommate that you haven't seen in years and years and years, and You're sitting at a table of 10, you're having dinner, you don't know these people. You traveled there by plane, you're sitting next to someone on the airplane. I just heard the other day a wonderful story of this woman who was traveling to Brazil. She was doing some work, some medical work there, and her work was very, very exciting, what she was doing. And the seat next to her, in first class, if you will, was empty until the very last moment when a woman rushed on the plane and she helped her get settled and get her bags done. And they started talking about, where are you going and what are you doing and what are you up to? All of those niceties that we oftentimes do in an airplane. But the woman who had just sat down, who just made the flight, she looked at this other gal and said, well, what is it exactly that you do? And as she started to explain, this woman said, well, that's fascinating because that's the story that I'm going after in Brazil. As a matter of fact, I'm a senior editor for O Magazine. For O Magazine. What happened to this woman in that moment is that she was in the December 2010 issue of O Magazine because she just happened to turn and talk to the person next to her on the airplane. Now, what did that do for her business? What did that do for her career? You never know where your networking opportunity is going to come from. And networking isn't only about getting a job, it's about keeping a job, it's about advancing your career, it's about looking for different opportunities on how you can serve not only your work, your community, your world. Networking never ends. It truly continues while you're on your job. And I guess the reason I bring this up today is because I've noticed that when people start feeling, it's time to change jobs, it's time to do something else, then we start all over again with the network. Oh my goodness. So if we keep doing it all along and we keep engaging in those new relationships and those new opportunities and listening and being crisp and sharp about what it is and who we are becoming in this life, then your network, it's very, very easy to open that up, to look at your address book, to flip through that iPhone of yours and just start having coffee with people, calling people, talking to people. Doing it face to face, though, really makes a difference. It really shows someone that, yes, you care. Now, the final thing I really need to say about networking is that networking is about reciprocity. So it's how can I help you? How can this person help you gain the information you might want? And how can you help them? So there is always that request at the end. How can I help you now? You've given your time to me today. I'm so appreciative of that. But how can I help you? Is there something I can do for you? And oftentimes people will have an ask of you. They will ask for certain information or ask you for if you know somebody who might be able to do X, Y, Z. Who knows? But it is that opportunity to give back and give back wholeheartedly. It's a wonderful place to begin, but it never ends. I hope this is helpful. Thanks.